Now, here's the thing. I know he's been out for a while. But my man, for the first time in the show's history, Craig throws up the graphic, no problem there. He wasn't at the seat when the show was ready to go. The seat was empty. I didn't want to come on here by myself, but there was nobody there. Nick, I know you got like 9 kids now, but you got to make it on time for the show, my friend. Some are saying, Nick, it's the biggest show we've ever done. I hope you had a nice time off, Nick, because it's going to get really busy here over the next week if this thing keeps going the same way it's gone. I'll ask you how you're doing. I'd ask you how, maybe fatherhood is for the 6th time. And by 6th, I think I mean really the 4th. But boy, oh boy, I just can only imagine how you feel. Hopefully you feel as good as I do, because the Cincinnati Reds, my friend, as we all know, everybody in this chat knows, and if you don't know, you know now. If the playoffs were to start today, Nick, the Cincinnati Reds would be in them, and that is an insane thing to say. An insane thing to say out loud, but here we are. Nick Kirby in the flesh, back on Chatterbox Reds, my friend.
Well, I had to get a drink.
Oh, no. Oh, no. This is where the show's going. I have 2 schools of thought here. One is I'm going to be obviously overly just thrilled to death because I thought this season was dead 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different times. I can't believe that we found ourselves, not only have we found ourselves in the position we do, which is obviously holding a spot in the playoffs, but that it's come with like a week left to play. That is maybe the craziest thing of them all. I thought if there was a chance for this team to do it, you were going to kind of slip through the back door and we were going to find a way to just kind of stun everybody at the absolute last possible minute. But boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got a week left, and Nick, first time in show history where I think that we control our own destiny. Obviously, unless we're talking about like opening day or something. I'm talking about late in the season, of course. So, yeah, a lot to talk about. You've been gone for a while, my friend.
I had a few takes festering up in the old head, just sitting there holding babies, watching you guys yap, and no, I'm excited to be back on. I just literally saw right as about to come on Mo Egger, the Reds minus 118 to make the playoffs.
Yeah. Which I got to tell you, that's pretty good value. That's pretty good value. That's pretty good value on the Mets. But I'm just saying, if you want to play that game, Nick, we can play that game. I'm just saying, I'm going to be honest. Can I be honest with everyone? I'm very, very close to putting $1,000 on the Mets to make the playoffs. Not because I want it to happen, but because I know that that's the price that I'm willing to pay to get the Reds in. If I bet $1,000 on the Mets, they won't win another game. That's how it goes. So I am very close to doing that, but that's not what this show's about, of course. I don't know. I mean, I guess on this show there's two schools of thought. One is how we got to this point. Why in the world do we find ourselves holding the position we find ourselves in? And then number 2, Nick, I think, is looking forward what the best pathway is for this baseball team, obviously, to try to get themselves in and what they're going to have to do moving forward. This team, over the last 6 days, has scored 2 runs or less in a baseball game 3 times. 6 games, 3 times have scored 2 runs or less, and they have found a way to continue to win. And that, finally, I guess is what the word to use here, finally, the tide has turned. I mean, I can't imagine watching a team that I root for get as many breaks as they've gotten over the past week. I'm talking about even what the Washington Nationals were capable of doing. Not only today, but even last night. I mean, they're kicking balls in Washington, or really they're in New York, but they're kicking balls off their feet. They're catching them. They're robbing home runs in the 9th. I'm watching the Reds win 1-0 baseball games. I mean, what in the absolute hell is happening, Nick? It's all falling our way right now. I'm not trying to jinx it. We got a long way to go. Still got games to be played. I feel like Kobe Bryant tonight. I'm going to try to be like, job's not finished. Job's not finished. I'm excited, but job's not finished, Nick.
I have like no nerves at this point. I mean, you're playing with house money. Like, it is what it is. That's where I'm at.
I mean, there's some nerves for me personally. I don't know. I mean, it's been a while.
We buried this team 50 times this year. They're still alive going to the last week of the season.
This is true.
You know what? It is what it is, man. I'm just excited. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were saying about, not catching any breaks, and yeah, I mean that the Nationals. I tell you what, I think I've only watched that team maybe play about like 9 games this year. The 6 the Reds played, and then the 3 over the weekend against the Mets. Like, man, this team's pretty good. How did that team lose 92 games this year? They played the Reds pretty tough. They played the Mets pretty tough. Yeah, they had some crazy things happen, but they made some big plays in that series. They had some big hits. They had some pitchers step up. Wild, just a wild last 2 days. I mean, as stressful of 2 days of watching both games. Like, both games were one ball gets hit different, or a fielder doesn't make a play, or a fielder does make a play, and they go the other way. And that's what makes this game great, terrible, and everything.
It is. There's nothing that builds drama better than baseball. I mean, just the absolute tension that can be cut with a knife, as they say sometimes. It's so incredible what a late inning baseball can produce for the heart. I mean, you had mentioned, I think you made a post about it. Even the nerves that were felt last night with the Mets and the Nationals as they went into the 9th inning, and then they played the extra inning baseball. I mean, I don't know. There's probably a lot of people that are Reds fans that didn't watch that because they're not sickos. But, I mean, that was unbelievably nerve-wracking. I mean, they had a chance to win. They blow it. The Mets can't possibly blow this, and then they do. It kind of felt like, if we're being honest, the Washington Nationals were the Mets when the Reds had them on the rope, if you will, with the bases loaded just not that long ago, and they got out of it somehow. And you're like, how did the Nationals figure out how to win? How'd they win that game? I don't know. It feels like a bunch of consecutive things that have happened for the Reds that earlier this year did not. And it just felt like, in order for this team to get to a spot where they were going to make the postseason, they were going to have to play incredibly good baseball. And the truth is that somehow, some way, we've caught a little bit of that luck on the back end. And I'm not here to suggest for a single second the Reds didn't earn their opportunity to be at the table that they're currently at. But they've gotten so much help to get to them to a spot where they now have taken advantage of it. And that's the thing that I'm actually excited about, is that, yeah, I mean, no doubt about it, the Mets have fallen apart. I'm not going to like try to hide behind that. I'm not going to try to be like, yeah, the Reds, could you sit here and say that over the last month they've played unbelievable baseball and just absolutely caught fire for a month and a half and basically just took over? They didn't do that. But what they did do is they took advantage over the last week, the opportunities that were presented to them by the Mets. And let's just hope for time's sake, the Mets continue to do what they do and the Cubs figure out how to win a baseball game again. And we can find a way to beat Pittsburgh. And I'm hopeful. And at this point, I know it sounds crazy, but I want to put the pedal to the metal, baby. Let's go into Milwaukee with a little cushion. Let's not take this thing to the very, very razor's edge, the last minute, as they say. But I don't know where to start. We've not been in a spot like this, so maybe you just throw it into the wind and say, Nick, take it from here, whatever you're thinking or feeling, and then we can do the box score recap, obviously, or we can jump into other topics before we get there.
It's just, this week has been really cool because the Reds have won in so many different ways. They've won an 11-6 game. They won a 7-4 game. They've won some back and forth games. They've had won games where they had to hit home runs. They've won games where they had to win 1-0. And it felt like, man, earlier in the year, you lose a game 1-0, then the next day you lose a game 7-6, and for whatever reason it synced up. But I guess I would just kind of tell people this right now. Like, if you had said before the season the Reds will be 79-76, or sorry, the Reds will be 80-76 with 6 games left in the season, a chance to maybe win 84, 85 games and sneak in the playoffs, I think I'd be like, oh, yeah, that sounds like a pretty cool thing. Sign me up. And wouldn't have thought that was some sort of crazy luck that the Reds got. It's just the way that it played out is so bizarre. But I think if at the beginning of the year you had kind of said that's what will happen, I think people would have thought, oh yeah, that sounds like a reasonable, way to get in. I mean, the Diamondbacks, I mean, I guess to the doubters, I mean, back in 2023, there was this whole, well, you got to go for it because the Diamondbacks won 84 games and snuck into the playoffs. Well, that's where the Reds are at right now. So you got to try to appreciate this. And I know you put out a post, and I agree with it. Like, look, whatever. If you fell off the bandwagon, if you didn't, if you're back on, you whatever, just who cares? We're here.
Right.
This is the biggest series in the history of Great American Ballpark, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And it's not even close. In 2010, 2012, and 2013, there was no drama at the end of the season other than maybe 2013 would the Reds be the wild card or the division winner. There was no drama. They were in the playoffs by mid-September. It was a guaranteed thing. This is it. I mean, you just don't have series like this. So if you're in Cincinnati, get down to the ballpark. Whether you hate the ownership, whether you hate Terry Francona, whether you hate Barry Larkin in the booth, whether you hate anything, who cares, man? You're not going to get you might not get another opportunity like this. Enjoy it, embrace it. Let's have fun this week. Reds are playing with house money, baby. The Mets are terrified, and keep making them terrified day after day.
I think that's the biggest mindset that I hope continues to happen within the clubhouse is that just because we found ourselves in a spot where we're theoretically the team that's in the postseason, we need to continue to be the hunter. We can't sit there and try to be like, oh my gosh, let's not screw this up. Forget that. That's long gone. Okay, this team, as I've said before, you're supposed to be dead. You are dead. And the reality is that somebody else just let you right back in. And don't let that be the difference maker is what's happened to what's going to happen. I just hope that we continue to play with this mindset that is free and I hope again that is the culture that is currently going to hold out for the remainder of the year. This team is exactly who they have been almost all year long. And that's maybe the most beautiful thing about it is that we've had these roller coasters of emotions. We've had these ups and the downs, and we've been all the way in and all the way out. But the truth is that nothing really has changed a whole lot. And we have been, I guess, upset at Tito's lineup cards every single day this week. All right, I'm speaking collectively as a fan base. I don't want to say it's like me or you. I'm just saying openly as a fan base, right?
It was me.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying no one likes Tito's lineup cards for almost the vast majority of the season. Everybody wants to sit there and complain that the offense is not really competent enough to be able to score runs all that often. They really did not do a great job of scoring that many runs this week. I mean, they just didn't. But the one thing that this team has done all year, and you've been waiting for it to regress. You've been waiting for it to be like, it can't be this good. I don't know. It might just be this good. The starting pitching might just be the best starting pitching, at least of my lifetime as a Reds fan. And that's really what's won out here, Nick. I mean, and the bullpen. I don't want to get too far down the weeds here, but it's just like you can't possibly be a bad team when you have a pitching staff this damn good. And I think that's what makes it so disgusting at times is because we win ugly. We win ugly. We are not a pretty team. And maybe, just maybe, they find a way to get hot at the right time, and it's starting to feel that way, although, your momentum's only as good as your tomorrow starter, as they say. And if they can just find a way to play this Pittsburgh series at home in a manner in which they played against the Cubs, they're going to find themselves going into Milwaukee. I have a really strong feeling that they're going to find themselves in a great spot. The Cubs are going to bounce back, man. They are, and they're going to win some games in that series against the Mets.
They have to.
A team as good as the Cubs don't lose 7, 8 games in a row. They just don't.
Well, there's some pressure on them now. They only have a 3-game lead over the Padres, and if they do not finish ahead of the Padres, I'm pretty sure they lose the tiebreaker. They went 3-3 in the regular season, and I went to the next tiebreaker. I'm pretty sure they lose the tiebreaker to the Padres. If the Padres finish the season tied with the Cubs go to San Diego to play the first 3 games. The Cubs need to win to be able to play their 3-game series at Wrigley Field. So the Reds sweeping the Cubs put a lot more pressure on them to have to at least try to play competently against San Diego, or against the Mets to be able to try to stave off San Diego. Now, granted, if the Cubs win game 1 and San Diego loses and it's 4 with 5 to play, then there's a lot of pressure off, but we'll take one win right now almost at this point, because that means the Reds can't lose ground, at least on day 1. And if the Reds could win, I mean, man, then you're really sitting pretty. So, yeah, there's definitely is at least a little, it's not life or death. They're not going to blow their whole pitching staff, but there's at least some pressure on the Cubs to perform. And you don't want to go into the playoffs losing like 8 of 9 or something like that either.
Of course not. No, they're going to want to get back on track. And let's face it, the Mets feel pressure, and they're currently now have to go on a 6-game road trip. Like, the Mets season's over at home, and they're going to have to go on the road and find ways to win against the Cubs. And, you know, I know the Marlins are a good team. I know that that's maybe crazy to say, but the Marlins are not a bad team. I mean, I think they're like 5 games under 500, and they were god-awful earlier in the year, and they've played, you know, significantly better baseball. So it's not like, I'm just saying, it's not a rollover team. The Marlins are not just going to roll over. Now, can the Mets sweep the Marlins? Of course they can. Obviously, any team can sweep anybody in this league, it feels at times. So here's the deal. We're going to do the box score recap. I think that there's some incredible things to talk about here as we go on through the show that are really going to be probably highly debated topics, if I had to guess. Like, there's one topic that I think is going to be extremely debated. And I see both sides of the story, but it is going to be, without question, the number one discussion point, whether the Reds make the postseason or don't make the postseason. People will talk about the decision that Tito is going to make here in just a little bit. We'll discuss that and more right after the box score recap. Of course, finally, as always, presented by Nick Kirby. Nick, take it away.
Yeah, back to 2 J bars. None of this 1 J bar cheap stuff. We're in a playoff hunt, baby. All right, Reds taking on the Chicago Cubs. Reds are trying to finish off their first 4-game sweep of the Cubs since 2018. Andrew Abbott on the mound against Jamison Talion. Bottom of the third, Matt McLain smoked a double at 107 off the bat. Then with 2 outs, Gavin Lux ripped a double at 102 off the bat. That put the Reds up 1-0. Reds would, however, get 1 base runner the rest of the game. That was an Elly De La Cruz single in the 7th inning. So it would be up to the Reds pitching to get the job done once again. Andrew Abbott pitched around runners in scoring position in the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th inning. Then in the 5th inning, Abbott retired the first 2 batters, but then gave up a single to Ian Happ. His day would be done early. Terry Francona goes to the bullpen, brings in Nick Martinez. He strikes out Seiya Suzuki to end the 5th. Andrew Abbott's final line, 4 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 0 runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Nick Martinez then ended up retiring all 7 batters that he faced. An incredible performance by Nick Martinez. Graham Ashcraft pitched around a 2-out single for a scoreless 8th inning. Then the Reds went to Tony Santillan in the top of the 9th with a 1-0 lead. Santillan would walk 2 batters, but he struck out 2, including the most important one, Pete Crow Armstrong, to end the game. Reds win 1-0. Reds finish off a 4-game sweep of the Cubs and now have won a season-high 5 straight games. And your Cincinnati Reds are 6-1 since the birth of Oliver Ray Kirby. And now over in New York, the Mets fell 3-2. They lose 2 of 3 at home to the 92-loss Washington Nationals, meaning your Cincinnati Reds now hold a playoff spot, the final wild card spot via the tiebreaker. They hold over the Mets 6 games to play.
All right, and we might not have the deep drive of the day that you were looking for, but we went down to the minors like we always do at times on this show. Hector Rodriguez, 19th home run of the season, 102 off the bat, 378 feet. And oddly enough, that would give the Louisville Bats a 1-0 lead. And if they're anything like the Reds, they would go on to win 1-0. I have no clue what the Louisville Bats did. And to be honest with you, neither did, like, out of the 711 watching, neither did 700 others. But that's okay, because the Cincinnati Reds won 1-0. And what else is okay is DSC being a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. And thank you to John and his team at DSC. And here we go, okay? Everybody's been patient. Everybody's been waiting, and I very much appreciate you. We are going to run through the supers. We're going to get the fireball out of the way, and we're going to do an excellent, excellent show as best we can, okay? So let's do this first, all right? Roth with a 50 bomb. He asks, did the Bengals win? ATOBTTR. You know what I'll say about the Bengals really quickly? If a win's a win, a loss is a loss. I'll leave it at that. Jacob Doyle.
Hold up. We actually had a 50 bomb from Rolf yesterday. I don't know if you were watching. They got cut off.
Whoa.
Because
Go for
Mr. Sandlin unfortunately had some sketchy internet that he's working hard to get fixed.
All right.
I don't remember what the super chat was, but it was a $50 from Michael Rolf, so I want to acknowledge him. But yeah, shout out to everyone who was in the chat my last show saying it's football season.
I tell you what, Nick Kirby is the absolute king of all kings of the slight backhanded sarcastic remark. Jacob Doyle said, is this real life? How did we get here? I have no idea. Crunky, first super chat ever, Crunky. You've been in the chat for a long time. Let's freaking go. It is a kid show, so I appreciate Crunky for keeping it a kid show worthy. Ned Flanders says, Santion, Tony's his first name, may end up with more appearances than the number of dirty diapers at the Kirby household. If we win the wild card, he's my team MVP. Tony Santion has been unbelievable. Nick West says, I just heard Littell gave up another solo home run. That is the crazy thing about Zach
off the other day.
I'm just saying, though, that is the crazy thing about him is that he does not give up what seems like big home runs that hurt you bad. It's like he'll give up 2 solo guys. Yeah. And it's like, hey, he gave up 3 home runs, but they only scored 3 somehow. I don't know how he does it, but I really appreciate him for it. I was trying to think about the other day. He throws the ball so well. But he, in a way, like, I don't know. He just gives us a bunch of home runs. It doesn't make sense. Rolf said, Rolf's just letting it rip. He said, I've spent $800 on groceries in the last 2 days, and the Reds are in position for the playoffs right now. Happy 2025. Shout out to the grocery stores down there, wherever Rolf lives, because they're making a good living. Nick West says, did the Bengals get us Reds to October? So he's flipping it around on them. Yeah. Listen, we all know the narratives. It's all about when can the Reds get to the Bengals, and then now it's going to turn into the Bengals getting the Reds. Who knows? At this point, let's just enjoy winning anything in Cincinnati. Mike Dean says, not pretty, but better is always, but I'm going to read this again. Mike Dean says, not pretty, but better is always better than good. Justin says, when the Reds win the World Series, do we have to give that bum Candy a ring?
Yep.
I'd say we do. I'd say we do, baby. Listen,
Candelario, that leadership is free training.
Candelario was here. You might not remember it, but he was here, and by God, somehow, some way, we'll make sure we get him a ring. If he's getting a ring, then they should give the rest of the people that came to Great American Ballpark and bought a ticket in 2025 a ring as well, because they had just as much impact. Nick West, if not better, to be honest. Nick West says, what happens when then you don't get swept? I think he's trying to say this is what happens when you don't get swept. The thing that's crazy is, though, Nick, here's the problem. They got swept twice now, and they got swept by the A's, and that's when I was like, okay, finally. All right, this team finally has cut me off. We've gotten to the point now where I can just be done with them. We're going to watch Sal Stewart. We're going to see if Elly can bounce back a little bit. Hopefully Matt McLain's going to show some life, and we can get ourselves excited about 2026. And sure enough, there they go. They find a way to win a getaway day against St. Louis, I think, right? Like they almost, if I remember this right, Nick, and maybe my mind's blurry at the moment, they were about to get swept in back-to-back series, and then they found a way to get the getaway day win against St. Louis, and then they went on this tear. I could be wrong about that, but correct me if I'm wrong.
No, they're 6-1 since they got swept by the A's. They won 2 or 3 from St. Louis.
They won the first game in St. Louis, or they won the next 2
games. They won the first, lost the second.
All right. There we go. Fair enough. That's why I asked, because it just didn't seem possible that they almost got swept twice and still found ourselves in this position. But
Reds have played incredible baseball other than that series in Oakland. They won a series against the Mets. They won a series against the Padres. They won a series in St. Louis against the Cardinals. And then they swept the Cubs in a 4-game series. Yeah. And then there's this random 3-game sweep to the A's in there that just... Yep. Is the most 2025 Cincinnati Reds thing you'll ever see.
Yeah, they just got to keep you on your toes. All right, here rounding out some more supers before we get in the show. Michael Rolfe says, If the Reds make the playoffs, I'll send a Juan Soto jersey to a lucky winner of a raffle for Nick and Trace's pick. That sounds fantastic. In fact, I think we should put it in a Reds jersey. Will they allow you to do that on MLB.com? Can you get a Soto jersey as a Reds player? Would they knock you for that or not?
I don't know.
I feel like
Rolf must have got cut off. They only let him put 20. His bank said no more. 20 is your limit.
That's fair.
You put $500 on this YouTube show.
Yeah, it's spam. It's a spam account.
Are you sure you want to send this?
Smitty Gunslinger says Mets fans wiping their tears with $100 bills tonight. I'll tell you, the Mets fans have got to be livid with their payroll and the fact that they are falling apart in the way they are. Flat Rock 79 says Green versus Skeens Wednesday night is going to be awesome. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Nick West, didn't Trace say we need 5 in a row? I did say it, and you know what? I'm not trying to say that I'm 100% right, but I do know this. They won 5 in a row, and where are they at? Where are they at? They're in the postseason. Now, question is can they hold on? We will find out here in just a minute. Michael Rolfe says, member for 17 months of Nutcutter Nation, says, hang the blue W banner. He said, hang the blue W banner this week. Make a pro Mets and Diamondbacks bet. Buy Juju fruits if those are still a candy. We need all the hocus pocus to get these Reds into the dance. Joe Lanza says, I get the fan base is beaten down, but for 3 days, can we not be cynical? Can we fill Great American Ballpark? Can we bring some fight and energy? The players are begging for it. They're begging for it. They deserve it. If I can come from Texas, the locals in the chat can come. Look at Joe. Look at Joe. Will somebody listen to my man Joe? I'm as cynical as they come, okay? I have had this team down and out, and I think I pronounced them absolutely dead when they absolutely stranded bases loaded against the Mets in the very first game of that season. And you know what, Cowboy? I give him credit for anything that he said all year. The cockroaches comment was probably the best comment that he's made in the booth all year long. You can't get rid of these guys. You think they're down and out. You think that they're not any good. You think they can't hit. And as soon as you think that, then they find a way to go and win 4 or 5 or 6 of their next 8 games. I'd love to go down to the ballpark, but obviously it's our duty to be on this show each and every single night after the Reds either win or lose, or we'll be live in the 9th inning. But I got to tell you, part of me says I'm going to find a way to get somebody to come down here and replace me for one game. I'm going to sneak down there because I have a feeling if this town, please, for the love of God, if this town loves baseball, if they're a baseball town, this is more than likely the last series in Great American Ballpark all year long, unless they do the unthinkable, which is go and win a playoff series for the first time since, 1995, I believe. That's the last time they're going to play baseball in this town. If you can't find an excuse, if you can't muster up the courage, if you don't have the money, I understand. But I know this, if you got a little discretionary income and you can sneak a couple bucks out of your pocket, do yourself a favor and go down there and find a way to support this team. If they don't win the first game, it's not all for lost, okay? Win the series against the Pirates. Dare I say sweep would be great. Yes, it would be great. But let's be realistic here. They find a way to win the next 2 series. They find a way to win the next 2 series, and I would be shocked if they're not in the postseason. Anyway, Joe, great super chat. Flat Rock says, Pitbull says, Fireball. Well, funny thing here, Flat Rock, is you were the guy down in Chattanooga, and I really much appreciate you coming in live from the Lookouts just the other day. And I also want to say we'll ignite the night together once and for all, okay? Once and for all. This is for everybody in the chat, and it's for everybody that wants this. It's probably not the best for my health, but you know what? This isn't about my health, is it? This has never been about my health.
I'm going to read a non-super while he's doing that just because I think it's like a funny dad joke.
Reds
must be an organ donor because, brother, they were dead and resurrected us.
I don't know if that was a super or not, but
it wasn't. It wasn't. Just good stuff.
Sal Stewart said. Did the Sal Stewart, man? He's been on the show a lot lately. Probably because he has time on his hands. Did the Reds get flexed off FanDuel Sports Network and moved to Fox Prime Time on a Saturday? Can't remember the last time I've seen a flex in baseball. He's not wrong. Sal Stewart is not wrong. They have decided the Cincinnati Reds are worthwhile to put on a national broadcast, believe it or not. Ohio Game Talk says, Nick and Trace, love y'all boys, man. Go Reds. Sneak them in, Ohio Game Talks. Thank you very much. Dylan Rushman says, Jacob Young should also get a World Series ring.
Hold up. No, he shouldn't. Because you know what? If it wasn't for Jacob Young, Will Benson would have another home run and probably wouldn't have got sent to Omaha for a 2-month vacation. So Jacob Young robbed our guy Will Benson and put him in purgatory. So no, he does not get a World Series ring.
This is always
pretty crazy how Will Benson got in the lineup. The Reds just started winning games.
Here we go. Don't turn this into a Will Benson show. Michael Rolfe says,
I haven't had 7 days of this.
Rolfe says, 50 bomb. Rolfe says, not to be denied, Nicholas Kirby. Showing you. Jacob, Rolfe.
Show me again, Rolfe.
Yeah. Jacob Winning says, anyone saying Tito Magic is a dork. This is all on Derek Johnson and the dogs he's got on the pitching staff. Sneak on in, #believe. Hey, man, Derek Johnson, the pitching staff is, we'll get to them in a minute, but he ain't wrong. This whole, I'll tell you who's got some magic is Derek Johnson's got some magic. Sam George, we're almost done, folks, and we're going to do a baseball show, I promise. Sam George says, I'm taking off work Thursday and will be at all 3 games. Yeah. Sam! My man. Neil Harris says, Trace, I just woke up. What happened? I'll tell you what, Neil, you go down to the Waffle House, you get you a good old all-star breakfast. You check the baseball standings, and you see what happened. All right, folks. That was a long-winded way of saying that we finally can do a baseball show. Thank you. First of all, thank you, everybody that did Super Chat. That's a lot. Means a lot to us. And I guess most importantly, there's so many people in the chat right now. If you don't mind, just hit the like button. It'd be really cool to break records at some point in this show's history. It seems like all the times that we've broke records was because of bad things happening. It'd be really nice if we could break some records because of good things happening, and we'll see if we can do that moving forward. Nick, before we go, I will tell you, I was true to my word. I've not opened these, and I'm not going to open these.
Cigars?
I'm not going to open these. I will open these if we can finally get it done. Now, some people are like, the playoffs, okay? That's what this is about. I'm not. Listen, we gotta go. We gotta walk before we run here. So we need to make the postseason, and then we'll enjoy those. But let's talk about how they're going to be able to do it, if they're going to be able to do it, and I guess why they'll do it if they're capable of getting there. First and foremost on the rundown, we have Tito and Abbott. I said it yesterday, I think, Nick, is that the Mets were minus 275, which if you follow any kind of baseball betting logic, that is just an insane number. Quite literally almost seemed impossible for the Mets to lose. So I felt like today, and if you're listening to it in podcast form yesterday, obviously Sunday's game, I felt like it was more or less just trying to maintain ground, trying to just kind of keep up and give yourself a chance during the Cubs in series with the Mets and then our series with the Pirates to be able to catch up and to perhaps possibly take the lead. I did not foresee any situation to where they were playing with house money during the game, and that's why I thought that the start by Andrew Abbott felt so important, because you kind of felt like you were in a spot where you had nothing to win other than just not lose, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I thought Francona pulling Abbott was a fantastic move. You know, the Cubs had a lineup that was very dedicated to trying to hit a left-handed pitcher, so you were also able to kind of capitalize on that. It felt like, okay, Abbott he survived this thing. He kept surviving, and it was going to break at some point. You had Martinez that was fresh, was able to get you 7 outs. Use him. I think Martinez probably over 2 innings fresh was clearly better than I think what Abbott would have been. So that's the one thing I'll give Tito a lot of credit for. I think he's done a really good job of managing the pitching staff. For the most part, I feel like he's done a good job of when to push guys like Hunter Green on Thursday night and when to pull guys back. And there's a lot I'm not letting Tito off the hook for a lot of the other things he did all year. But I will say, if this team is able to get in the playoffs, managing the pitching staff and the bullpen is not something I have any concerns about with Terry Francona. I feel very confident about his ability to manage that well. And he's probably also working with Derek Johnson in tandem on that. And I think that they've done an excellent job with that.
Oddly enough, the thing that I think Tito's done as well as anybody this year, from a manager standpoint, is the one thing that he just failed to do when everybody was watching in this town on opening day. Oddly, it's just a weird way of that happening. Obviously, bringing in Ian Jabot. And you know what's crazy, Nick, in a way? Like, that kind of set up the way that the bullpen has fallen all year long, ever since that decision on opening day, because once Jabot was incapable of getting the job done, it then lended itself to putting Pagan in that kind of closer role-ish. It set up Santillan as the setup man, and then from there, all year long, they've delivered time and time again. So it is kind of unique how that all kind of played itself out. I more or less was getting at the fact that Andrew Abbott, for the first time maybe in his career, was pitching late into the season, right? Because he's had some struggles in the past of staying healthy and or being effective. But it felt like it was the first time where he needed to go out and be more or less a stopper. And I know the Reds are on a winning streak. They were on a 4-game winning streak, and you could say, well, it's not like it was a stopper type game where you're trying to stop the bleeding. I more or less felt like it was an opportunity to kind of open up the floodgates, if that makes sense. It was the first time all year, in my opinion, outside of the April run, that they had a chance to win 5 games in a row, and they also had a chance to set themselves up for the remainder of the year to feel like they actually have some real momentum going. Because, yes, you can win 3 or 4 from the Cubs, and what would we have said on this show, Nick, if that happened? We would be like, listen, that's an unbelievable series. We're so thankful that they found a way to win a series against the Cubs playing 4-game set. Really hard to do to win 3. 4 seems impossible. 2-2 seems like the ultimate kind of the way it always goes. And they had a chance to do something special. And how many times have we gotten on this show all year long, Nick? And what did we say? We said, yeah, it's fine to do something good. That's fine. But that's not what's going to get us to the promise. Like, we cannot find a way to get to the postseason unless we do something special. And that's what I've been saying time and time again. And Andrew Abbott had an opportunity today to go out and give his team a chance to win, as supposedly being, at times this year, their ace. And I put that in quotations because at this point, I'm not going to get in the debate about who's the best starting pitcher. I don't give a damn, to be honest with you. We have a lot of good ones, and I'm going to leave it at that. And he did his job, is what I'm getting at. I know he didn't throw 8 innings. He didn't look like Hunter Green the other day going out and throwing shutout baseball for all 9, but he did his job. He gave them a chance to get themselves to a bullpen situation for the remainder of the game with high-quality arms, and they didn't give up a run. And it lends itself to an opportunity to shut out the Cubs, which, again, I'm going to say it again, that's a good team. It's a good team. I know they might not look like a good team this series, but that's a good team. And I'm going to give kudos to Andrew Abbott for giving the Reds team a chance.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Abbott did pitch very well today. I don't want to just say, oh, Tito pulled him early, good job, and completely gloss over the fact that Andrew Abbott gave the Reds 4 2/3 quality. I mean, no run innings is pretty good. But yeah, I think Tito, you quit while you're ahead with Abbott at this point in the season, kind of given where he's at. And I'll say this, let's go ahead and dream a little bit. You get into the playoffs. If you got into the playoffs and you actually got to pick your 3 starters, the Reds would have to clinch before Sunday, which maybe who knows? I would be going Green, Lodolo, Singer. And I tell you what, I'd be putting Abbott in the bullpen and maybe have him like a 3-inning guy in the bullpen. I don't think I'd have him as one of my top 3 starters. And honestly, even if, let's say, you advanced into a 7-game series, I think I might even just put Littell as that 4th guy and put and have Abbott, Martinez, and Burns kind of all available in the bullpen. I'd
lend itself to saying that's a crazy move just because of the optics of it, if we're being honest, maybe more so than the actual practicability of using it. And that's something that we haven't really seen maybe this team have to put themselves in a position of doing, is making bold decisions like that. But
kind of reminds me of Ranger Suarez. The Phillies he was a starter, but in his first couple years when they got to the playoffs, they used him as a reliever. But it was like a multi-inning, 3-inning. I could see that being, I think that's the best way to use Abbott, just because I think it's hard really at this point, given where Abbott's at, to expect that there's a realistic chance that he's going to go out and if everything's going well, he's going to give you 7 innings. If everything's going well, I think you can get that from Green. Right. Certainly. You can certainly get that from Lodolo, and I think you can get that from Singer right now too. So why not just not use him and put him in spots where, man, especially if you have a lineup that is not set up for a lefty, that's where Abbott could really, like say the Phillies, for example, with a lot of lefties. If you were to face them, or the Dodgers too, and they have a lineup that is geared up to face Hunter Green or Brady Singer, and then you bring in Andrew Abbott for 3 innings, that's where I think he could be uses even a bigger weapon.
Yeah, we'll see. They got to get themselves to that point, obviously, to be able to make those types of decisions. But the reality is I think there's a bigger decision looming that we'll get to in just a second. And it seems like they've already made the decision on it, but hopefully maybe there's some second guessing, or there's maybe some more discussions that are going to be had around that subject. We'll talk about that in just a second. Let's get to the end of this game, and then we can get into the back half of the rundown. Nick Martinez obviously comes in. The pen does another tremendous job on what has been an unbelievable series out of this bullpen. It's it kind of goes back to where this thing has been a roller coaster emotionally for me personally, and I'll happily say that I'm happy to be wrong if a couple things do happen. One is I'll openly say I'm wrong now about selling. I very much at the deadline did not see this team finding a way or a chance even remotely to get themselves in this spot. And let's face it, I'll be happy to admit that a lot of the guys that I thought that they should have gotten rid of at the deadline were guys that are helping this team win baseball games and win baseball games in a very, very big way. Martinez is one of those, and Pagan's another, to be honest.
Hayes too.
And Austin Hayes, yes. So listen, I don't want to give too much credit on something that I feel like was completely unpredictable, which was, the Mets have completely fallen apart, right? I don't know really if the front office predicted that, but I'll openly say here we find ourselves, and Nick Martinez is a big part of this moving forward, and the bullpen in general. Chase Burns, another big storyline I think that is going to progress. A guy that we really do need out of that bullpen. I know people are going to downplay it a little bit, but we need as many guys in the back end of this bullpen that can get swing and miss stuff. And you can like it or not, but Chase Burns is one of those guys.
Yeah, maybe I'm just more stubborn. I still think they probably, in retrospect, should have sold, because they're 5 games behind the Padres, the team that we were supposed to be chasing, and the Mets just happened to completely crap down their leg. Now, if you're going to buy, I think they did. They did a pretty good job of kind of not going too crazy, but also getting players that have impacted this team, because it's hard to say that they haven't. And obviously, I'm just thrilled about the prospect and the potential of Brian Hayes long term, which is the most exciting part of the whole trade deadline. Yep. Regardless, it helped not only this season, it helped this season quite a bit. I mean, I think Hayes is like second on the team and wins above replacement since he was acquired. But it also is a future move, which was what we really, the biggest thing we wanted at the deadline. But yeah, I Austin Hayes, I tell you what, he was out of the lineup today. I hope he's back on Tuesday. That guy's been a roller coaster this year. Man, there's been times where I'm like, man, this guy's really good. There's other times like, I don't think this guy should be playing against right-handed pitching. And he's had a great year, though. I mean, at the end of the year, you look at his stats for $5 million was a hell of a signing. I mean, that is a hell of a signing for a guy, even though he's been hurt 50 times. He still has put up great numbers and has produced all year, and has had big hits in big spots, and has destroyed lefties all year. Even when he's struggled, he's hit lefties all year, and this team, without him, would have been a disaster against left-handed pitching.
Yeah, and speaking of which, of moves, is Andujar's been an incredible addition as well. I mean, like they didn't really swing and miss on the additions that they added for, I guess what you'd call the trade deadline kind of situation. I don't want to sit here and act like, the Zach Littell signing was like an unbelievable signing or nothing like that, but he's been serviceable. Like he's been very much serviceable. I don't want people to come at me and act like I think that he fits in with the rotation that we currently have, because he seems like a little bit of a kind of like maybe the one arm that you just don't think is nearly as good as the rest, but that's fine. Like the reality is that he served a purpose. It gave them a chance to put Martinez in the bullpen, which is obviously what we're talking about right now. And the truth is that Martinez in the bullpen does extend this thing out a little bit. It does give you a chance to take Andrew Abbott out in the 5th inning if you want to do that and still feel like you have a legitimate chance to win when it comes to the end of the game. And not only win, but win in the manner in which they do, which is have to hold teams to 3 runs or less, pretty much what seems like 90% of the time or more.
Yeah, what I'll add about the whole Littell move, Littell has a 4.62 ERA with the Reds. He's had some good starts, some bad starts. Here's the question I have. Would Nick Martinez have outperformed a 4.62 ERA? Maybe, but it probably wouldn't. You wouldn't have expected much. That was about what his season had been. Has Nick Martinez as a reliever been better than most of the guys that you were talking about? I mean, the lefty that everyone wanted, Columbine, whatever his name is, he got hurt for the Rangers and pitched 9 innings and has a 6 ERA. Like outside of like the Mason Millers, most of the relievers haven't really done a whole lot. So Martinez has been in my opinion, has been a more valuable reliever than most of the other relievers you get. And like going into the end of the season, and if you're able to sneak into the playoffs, Nick Martinez is a far bigger weapon than any 1 inning reliever. So I think the Littell move, I think it because he gives up a lot of home runs and he's had a couple blow up starts. I think it doesn't feel sexy. It doesn't feel good. But when you really think through the series of moves, and when you remember that Nick Martinez is a reliever because of Littell, Nick Martinez I like better than almost every reliever they could have got at the deadline.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, and that's, in a way, that's what they said. That was the rationale of the front office when they got Littell. But the truth is that based off where the Reds were, they also didn't make other corresponding moves that made you feel good about it. And if we're going to be completely honest on this show, which I think we've always tried to be, there's still signs of weakness on this team. Like they clearly have some offensive issues, and they also clearly don't have a left-handed guy in the bullpen that they can trust to come in a reasonable big spot that they need to have a left-handed pitcher coming out of the bullpen in, and they've not had that. And am I hopeful that we can just kind of steer clear of these things and get lucky? I'll call it that. Can we get lucky and not have these kind of warts show up when you hope that to have I guess a winning postseason series? Yeah, I do. Do I think that there's a chance in the 7th or 8th inning we were begging and praying that we wish we had a left-hander to come in and get a really good left-handed hitter out? I do. But they didn't do that, Nick. And now we're stuck with what we got.
Well, you have Andrew Abbott to be that guy now.
I know you're saying that they're going to move Abbott to the bullpen, or you'd like to move Abbott to the bullpen, but I also don't think that, let me say this, I also don't know if bringing Abbott in like as just a spot one time, you gotta bring him in the 7th inning to get the final out with 2 outs, and there's a left-hander up. That's obviously not the spot we really want to use Andrew Abbott. Anyways, I get the rationale that you're using with Andrew Abbott, but I'm just saying that he's not going to solve their problems when it comes to what I'm talking about. But that's here nor there. He could help. All right. I don't know what's on the back half right this second, but I do know this. If you are ever in a time of crisis and or need help, you can always text and or call 988. It's an anonymous hotline, 24/7, day or night. It is an Ohio resource, but I would also say that it's also a resource probably in New York as well. So if any of our New York Mets friends are on here, you can also text and or call anonymously 988, day or night. It's okay to not be okay. You can also visit mantherapy.org. All right. Omaha Steaks. We're gonna throw the Omaha Steaks. I'm gonna tell you right now, I did do this. I threw some Omaha Steaks on the smoker the other day, and I seared them. And I'm here to tell you that the filet mignon, okay, I'm gonna speak on the filet mignon. You can count on it. You can count on it. The same way you can count on the Cincinnati Reds starting rotations, the same way that you can count on Omaha Steaks. Except the only difference is that they're on sale and the Reds starting pitching isn't, okay? 50% off site-wide if you go to omahasteaks.com. You can also get an extra $35 off if you use the promo code Chatterbox. That's CHATTERBOX. Again, $35 extra off if you use the promo code Chatterbox at checkout. That's, once again, the Red Hot Sale event. 50% off, omahasteaks.com. It's not going to be a whole lot better, folks. I'm telling you right now. If you're out in the nice crispy air of the Midwest, grilling out with some Omaha Steaks products on the grill. Nick, find ourselves now in a position where I want to jump into something, and I know that it's after up next, but I'm going to make it the next thing we talk about. Because I know some people in the super chatted about it, so I'm going to do that super chat now. But I think it lends itself right into a perfect talking point of what I'd like to talk about next, which is Sal Stewart once again saying, do you think the Reds change the starting rotation with the off day tomorrow, specifically with Hunter Green, or is Tito trying to save him for the postseason? Here is the as I teased it on the front end of the show, Nick, I think this is going to be the decision that a lot of Reds fans are going to have absolute disdain for, whether they miss the postseason or make the postseason, one or the other. I'm going to tell you why. If they make the postseason and Hunter Green's not available to pitch in the series at all, there is going to be, we'll just say it's 50% both ways. There'll be half the fan base that is absolutely pissed off saying, what'd you waste your time getting in the postseason for anyways if you don't have a chance to use your best starter with a 3-game set when all year long everybody said, well, you don't want to face the Reds because they got the 1-2-3 punch. You don't want to face the Reds because you get in a spot where you just don't want to have to see Hunter Green, and then you don't see him. The opposite would obviously be if you don't make the postseason, there's going to be a lot of people that are frustrated that you had every opportunity to not even, let me be clear, you're not even pitching him on short rest. For those that are wondering how this is going to work, we'll talk about it in a second. But you would give him a chance to pitch 2 times during the regular season here moving forward and not pitch on short rest. And the final one would be game 162, which one would argue, Nick, if you had to win that game to get in the postseason, you would have Hunter Green to pitch. If you didn't have to win that game and you were in the postseason, he could obviously easily sit and be ready to go for game 1. I'll let you kind of give your overarching thoughts on this. I feel pretty strongly one way about it, but I just want to hear yours first.
I think it's pretty crazy not to bump them up till Tuesday. I thought for sure they were going to do that. I've kind of talked to myself into a spot where I don't like it, but I have a little bit of understanding for it is kind of what I've gotten to. The one thing I didn't really think about, and the one thing that kind of changed was obviously Hunter Green went 9 innings in his last start. So the thing I always have tried to do on this show and be consistent with is when we don't know the health and the recovery and all that kind of stuff about pitchers and where they're at, Hunter Green could have this weekend. And I'm not saying Hunter Green said this, but I'm saying Derek Johnson and the coaching staff kind of summarized that Hunter Green probably needs that extra day to recover after that insane start where he put the team on his back. So that could be part of this and why I don't want to go too overboard that saying this is the worst decision ever, fire everyone. The other thing is obviously Paul Skeens is that game. And if you're looking at the Pirates and you're saying, all right, this is the time that we can put our foot on the neck of the Mets, is we sweep the Pirates and Hunter Green going against Paul Skeens and Brady Singer against Johan Oviedo and Nick Lodolo against Braxton Ashcraft, that does line up the best to give you a chance to actually sweep the Pirates. And if you sweep the Pirates, the Mets are probably cooked. I mean, let's just call it what it is. If you sweep the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Mets are almost cooked. So, and it takes a lot of pressure off you going to Milwaukee. So again, I feel like I would for sure just move them up on Tuesday. But if Green, the recovery, all that, they are a little bit concerned about that. And they say, hey, we think he's going to be more effective with that extra day. Well, then who am I to really be too mad about it? But it's a gamble. But if you clinch before Sunday, it's going to look great.
Yeah, I think it all depends on the outcome and the way in which someone's going to win or lose the battle. And it's going to be all hindsight. So I'll openly say that. I don't know if there's one way or the other that is 100% right. I lean on the idea. I will tell you, I listened to what you just said, and you made a very good, compelling argument where I've softened my stance a little bit on the idea that I don't know how Hunter Green feels. If Hunter Green is somewhat sore, it's obvious that he went out and absolutely probably, expended himself as to the absolute max his last start. So I will concede that he didn't throw 6 innings or 7 innings of 90 some odd pitches, and he should be easily ready to go next start. He went out and threw 100+ pitches, a complete game shutout, very emotional shutout. So maybe that extra day off is what he needs. But I much rather prefer him throw on Tuesday because of 2 things. One, this team could easily just get, and I'm not trying to say that it's going to happen, but this team could get dominated by Skeens. It doesn't matter who you have on the mound. You're just not going to win that baseball game. So I'm kind of almost, again, as crazy as it sounds this late in the season, I'm not trying to punt on any games. I don't want people to think that's what I'm saying out loud. But I will admit that I like the idea of trying to cash in on 2 of the 3 games in Pittsburgh. Now, that doesn't always work out that way. We just seen what happened with the Mets. They were, again, heavy favorites today, and they just didn't find a way to win. But I just want to have Hunter Green available for 162 personally if they need to have him there. And that's maybe more so where I feel like I am a little more passionate. I'll also openly say if there's a chance that Hunter Green's kind of one of those weird spots where he's willing to pitch on short rest on the last game of the season and you feel good about that, I'm just saying if you feel good about that, then I'm open to that concept or idea as well. It just depends clearly on how this whole thing shakes out. I'd like to have him available for the last game of the season, and if you don't need that win, then clearly he pitches in the postseason as your game one starter. So,
one other point. The Brewers have destroyed Hunter Green in his career, too. That's another factor. I don't think this is a one-thing factor. I don't think this is a one-thing decision. But the Brewers has an ERA of almost 7 in his career against Milwaukee. Now, some of that was early in his career. I think he had one game where it was almost like a Chase Burns and Boston game where I think they knew what was coming. And again, I don't want to get into the whole Brewers or cheaters things, but that's an actual thing. But I'll say this, though. I would rather have Brady Singer on full rest than Hunter Green on 3 days rest. I just think the numbers are pretty stacked against guys on 3 days rest, especially guys that have never done it before. I do not think it's a good idea. I mean, if you have, I'd rather have Brady Singer and Nick Martinez and Chase Burns and Emilio Pagan and Tony Santillan than a short rest Hunter Green. Maybe a Hunter Green on short rest in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning if you kind of had to use everyone. Like I would almost kind of flip it backwards. And I know there's been teams that have done that in the playoffs where they won't pitch the guy on short rest as a starter because you kind of want to see, give the guys on regular rest a chance to win. But if you kind of have to, bring in Santillan in the 4th inning to get 2 outs and you burn through, then you say, all right, well, now we'll let Hunter Green pitch on 3 days rest. I would almost kind of rather flip it if it got to that point.
Yeah, listen, there's no doubt that they if he were to pitch on short rest, then I would prefer him to come in middle of the game, late in the game type situation, as you've seen in the World Series before, where it's Game 7 and everybody supposedly is available and they're going to try to use the best arm that they can in any given spot. But to your point, if the Reds were to go out and score, let's just say some hypothetical thing that'll never happen, maybe let's just say they scored 15 runs in the first inning. Obviously, you can kind of not have to worry about pitching Hunter Green in that spot. So we'll see. I know for a fact it'll be highly debated, but I got to tell you, in real time, I was pretty passionate about the idea that Hunter Green should start on Tuesday, should give him an availability to start in the final game of the year. But, I didn't really consider the idea that he went out and threw 9 innings, 100-plus pitches, and it's probably maybe in his best interest to throw, I guess, maybe with an extra day's worth of rest. I really hope that he doesn't go out and have an unbelievable performance against the Pirates and somehow Skeens spoils that, and then you don't get what you could have gotten the day before when you needed it in the whole thing. But you could play it the other way too, Nick. You could play it the other way too. You could say he goes out and dominates Skeens. They win that game. They didn't really need it the night before. You could play it however way you wish. We'll see. That's why it's going to be one of those Monday morning quarterback situations where everybody's going to say after the fact what they should have done.
The Pirates are only 16-15 in Paul Skeens starts this year, and that's not facing Hunter Green caliber pitchers every time on the other side. So, I don't know. I think when I saw Terry Francona come out and pull Andrew Abbott in the 5th inning, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have a little bit more blind trust in this decision. And again, that's how my brain works, man. When you make a decision that I feel is backed by like pulling Abbott early is pretty well backed by like data and reasoning on, third time through the order and kind of where you're at in the season and needing the sense of urgency. When you make a move like that, it kind of buys you a little bit of credibility, at least with me, for whatever that's not worth anything. But that's how my brain works, at least.
It's fair. All right, we'll move on to another topic that I have no idea what in the world this is going to be about. But you know what? This is why Nick Kirby's back, so he can kind of let us all know. For those that are listening in podcast form, on the rundown, we currently have Elly/Votto. I have no clue where this is going to go.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, Elly had a really good weekend and kind of ruined my whole point here. Played his tail off all weekend. Looks like the Elly of old. And I'm just kidding. But, did play pretty well. No, I'm sitting there in the hospital, and I have a lot of time, man. When you're sitting in the hospital holding the baby that sleeps for 22 hours of the day, you have a lot of time just to think. And
Right.
you know what I was thinking? There was a lot of conversation then about Elly, and it obviously quelled a little bit over the weekend when he played well. Uh, Elly's 2025 season reminds me of Joey Votto's 2009 season. I think a lot of people forgot about that season because 2010, Votto wins the MVP and then finishes off a career that should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But in 2009, Votto had vertigo, lost his father, unfortunately, dealt with a lot of depression. I think there's a lot of parallels to how Elly's season has gone. Elly obviously lost his sister. I'm not saying that Elly, I don't know anything about his mental state or anything like that, but I think you could obviously see the potential of parallels there, and obviously played through an injury. And that was Votto's second full season in the big leagues. This is Elly's second full season in the big leagues, dealing with all that pressure. And I'm not saying that Elly's going to win the National League MVP next year like Joey Votto did, but I just saw some parallels. I don't know. It was a thought that popped in my head. I don't know if anyone agrees with me on that or not, but I think if you went back and you looked at some of the articles and things that were said about Joey Votto in 2009, and then you go and read some of the articles and things that are said about Elly De La Cruz this year, I think you could find some parallels.
An interesting point that you make. I'm not going to sit here and probably go down that path, largely because I have no clue in the world what was coming and going in 2009. I'm sure I can sit here and muster up the courage to think through it, but it's been a long time ago since I remembered what was going on in 2009. Having said that, I'll say this about Elly. All I was hoping that, I felt like needed to happen for him to get back on track has happened. He's made a good play in the field. He's gotten back to where he's kind of feeling like he's running the bases like he has in the past. He hit a ball over the fence. Now, I know that seems like something that shouldn't be that big of a deal, but it just feels like a good shooter having a really bad shooting slump, and then they finally have a game where they kind of see the ball go through the net a couple times. Elly has seen the ball go through the net a couple times now. Am I expecting him to break out and be the team's best player or anything like that? No, I'm not suggesting that, and I don't think that's really a fair omen to put on him. But what has happened is he's gotten back to, I think, at least a state of mind to where I would hope that he feels confident again. And I think that's been the vast majority of the issues in the second half, is that he's just lost his confidence. And, we'll see whether or not Elly's capable of helping this team out. But the truth is that if he's able to get going, then it's a much different team. It very much is a much different team. And I'd also say, and it's not on the rundown, but I'll be the first person to say this: Spencer Steer has 100% found a way to change the overall outlook on the perception of his season. He has 100% been a guy that we have criticized on this show, whether we criticize Tito and the front office for putting him at first base, whether we said he's hurt. We've tried to come up with reasons or rationale as to why, maybe they've continued to leave him at first base because there's this trust factor there. But this past week and a half, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, last 30 days, whatever term you'd like to use of recent time, Spencer Steer has been a big reason as to why they've capitalized on this opportunity. There is no doubt about it. And Spencer Steer, as much as anyone on this team, deserves the credit and the glory that has come with this final push. And if the Reds are going to continue to use Spencer Steer moving forward, I hope and pray they find a way to use him in the right manner as we progress through future seasons, because there's no reason, as I was thinking, you had a lot of time on your hands to think, when Spencer Steer got hot, I kept thinking to myself, I've always appreciated Spencer Steer. I felt like at times this fan base might have overvalued him, and I definitely feel like he was overvalued at first base. I was very, 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 very disappointed in the fact that the Reds had a guy at first base that was as productive as he was at the plate. I don't care how good of a first baseman he was defensively in a way. Some people are going to argue if he was a Gold Glove first baseman. Some are going to say, well, not really. He catches ground balls that are pretty decent for a first baseman, but as far as scooping or receiving or anything like that, he's not very good. I don't care where you fall in that debate. That's not what this is about. The truth is that if Spencer Steer is a utility type player, I don't think that I would have ever gotten myself in the position of not liking him as much as I have this year. But that's all to be said, that he has already kind of redeemed, in my opinion, the disappointment that I had in him at first base. And to be honest, as much as people have complained, Nick, about Sal Stewart not playing, I got to be honest, like, I guess Gavin Lux would be the argument as to why Gavin Lux is in the lineup over Sal Stewart. But the way that Ke'Bryan Hayes has played, and especially the way that he's performed at the plate, you are not sitting Ke'Bryan Hayes if he's healthy. You're just not doing it. He adds way too much value defensively. And secondarily to that, he's been a pretty good offensive player. Then you add in the fact that Spencer Steer is unbelievably hot. He's got to play every single day. He plays a good enough first base that you'd probably rather play him at first base than DH him. So what are you left with? You're left with a DH spot. Andujar has been very, very good. If he's healthy, then he's probably going to play, unless it's against, of course, maybe a right-hander and you want to justify the idea of putting Gavin Lux or Sal in there. And they just trust, I'm going to say this, Tito just trusts Gavin Lux, like it or not, more than Sal Stewart. Sal Stewart, his upside is significantly higher than Gavin Lux's is right now from an offensive output standpoint. I would hope that nobody would argue that. But right now, we have found ourselves in a position where Tito is going to go with what he trusts. And he trusts Gavin Lux, and he trusts the Spencer Steers of the world, and he's going to trust the TJ Friedels of the world. He's going to trust Ke'Bryan Hayes. And the reality is that we have to understand that as fans. I know he's the shiny new toy, but it seems like it's just not unfathomable, I guess, is what some people are acting like, as to why Gavin Lux would be in there against a right-handed pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, Gavin Lux has a long track record of hitting right-handed pitching, too. I mean, he has the longest track record of hitting right-handed pitching of anyone on this entire team. So, yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Yeah, shout out to Spencer Steer. Had an incredible week. We can talk about first baseman at the offseason. He had an incredible week. Put the Reds on his back this week. Has played very well down the stretch. Another guy that's played very, very well is Mr. Matt McLain. I remember Matt McLain better be sent to AAA, and Sal Stewart called up on August 28th when the Reds returned home to play the Cardinals. Since then, Matt McLain has a 127 WRC plus and leads the Cincinnati Reds with 0.6 wins above replacement. So Tito also stick with Matt McLain. I think has paid off a lot. Had a big double today that helped the Reds scored the only run of the game. So Matt McLain's play. It's ironic though that the four guys that have hit well down the stretch have been Steer, McLain, Benson, and Stewart.
Right.
Those are the only four guys that have really hit well. I mean, Andujar kind of, but it's been like, a bat here and a bat there.
Yeah, I mean, oddly enough, the thing that's maybe the most frustrating part about all this is that the guys that Tito, I guess, trusts are the guys that also don't really have as much firepower in them as the other guys do, right? Like, I see a comment. I know it's not a super, but it's something worth pointing out. It's the argument that you're not going to be able to beat LA 2-1 or 1-0. Like, this isn't a way to actually win the postseason games when they're going to matter the most. And I would just say, like, at this point, like, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I know that I know that that's not maybe the best mindset, and I'll openly admit that's not the best mindset because you want to have the best team out there at all times. But the truth is like that's so far away in my purview right now. It's just the Pirates, man. It's just how do you beat the Pirates? And they're going to go with what they trust. And I think that it's understandable that they're going to play guys like Gavin Lux against a right-handed pitcher over Sal Stewart. It seems reasonable that Andujar is going to DH over Sal Stewart against left-handed pitching just based off the fact that they have produced in some big moments this year for this team. And Sal Stewart has too. Like, it's not like Sal Stewart's not done anything. But is he going to play first base over Steer right now? And is he going to play third base over Ke'Bryan Hayes? I just don't see it. So my guess is that Sal Stewart's going to get a spot start a time or two at DH or first base. And it's going to be against probably left-handed pitching when guys like Gavin Lux aren't really somebody they're going to turn to regardless. So we'll see. I also really am concerned slightly, Nick, if we're being honest, that having Steer in left field is so unfair to him just because he's not played out there in so long. It's obviously not a natural position of his. It's just a weird time to be a Reds fan because at this point, there's a lot of things that they can do right now that you can say, well, they probably shouldn't do it. But at the same time, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If you don't put good hitters in the lineup, people are going to complain that you only score one run. If you decide to try to play the offensive firepower and they make an error and you lose 2-1 because you have guys out there that are playing out of position, then they're going to be like, I thought pitching and defense was the way you're supposed to win. Didn't Nick Krall say that? It's like, I don't know. I'm going to openly say they're not in a perfect spot because they don't have a lot of great players that can just put in the lineup and no one's going to argue about it.
Well, the nice thing is they do at least have, on any given night, have a couple players on the bench that are capable of doing something. I mean, so
Right.
If Marte's the guy that's the odd man out, I mean, Marte on the bench is better than 90% of the pinch hitters we've seen this year. If it's Will Benson, if it's Stewart, if it's Andujar, if it's Lux, if it's Steer, I mean, they're all capable hitters on the bench. So that's one way, I guess, to kind of think about it. But yeah, I mean, I will say I not liked most of Tito's decisions with the lineup, and I don't think because they worked this week, everything's gravy. I don't work that way.
I don't.
But I will say they're not easy decisions either. I mean, there's a lot of guys that flip a coin and who's really the better matchup. I just hope that at the end of the day, there is at least a glance at the analytical sheets that he gets every day and looking at which guy's the best matchup against this particular pitcher, because sometimes those are not as black and white as we think. It's not right-handed, splits versus right-handed pitchers, splits versus left-handed pitchers. It's this guy's arm angle, this guy's fastball, his slider, his curveball, who profiles the best. I hope there's some sort of usage of that, because if it's that and you feel like based on this pitcher's profile that Steer hits that guy better than Stewart would, okay, I'll buy that. I'll believe it.
Yeah, I don't want to do this yet, and I really don't. Optimistic John has been a very, very loyal supporter of this show, and I'm not here to try to upset him on a night like tonight where we should all be happy and thankful. But I will also say, if we make the postseason, we have to ask ourselves and look at ourselves in the mirror of what we really need as the 26th man, and it's got to be either someone that can steal a base late in a game, or it's got to be someone that can hit a ball over the fence personally. And I just don't know where Espinal at some point fits in this whole rotation or lineup or how that works. But it seems like that's going to come at some point, maybe on this show. But other than that, I don't really care about the roster, the lineup makeup as much as I do just the consistency of giving guys opportunities and not sending guys to the gulag, as we've said before. Like, it just seems like that's where we've headed with Espinal a little bit.
Well, the postseason roster, there's going to be players added for the Reds that we haven't seen in a while, because you're not going to carry 14 pitchers in a 3-game wild card series. Now, again, I should say if the Reds make the playoffs. Let me make sure. Let me make sure I say that if the Lord blesses us with a postseason opportunity, they're not going to throw 14 pitchers. They're going to cut down to at least 11, maybe 10. Now, granted, with kind of this team, I would probably say they'll lean more on the side of the 11, but that's 3 additional hitters. So you could see Blake Dunn added. You could see CES added. You could see Reese Hines, Ryan Vlade. They're going to add position players. So in that sense, Espinal's spot really doesn't matter, and he's almost just a guy that can be the guy that defensive replacements after he used one of those pinch hitters. So at this point, Espinal's really fine. I think they should have dumped him on September 1st and brought up a hitter, because I don't think the 3 times used Espinal as a defensive replacement was worth not having Blake Dunn or CES or Reese Hines that could run into a ball in a particular spot. But now for the playoffs, I have no problem if Espinal's on the roster.
Okay. Well, we shall find out if we even come to that opportunity, because obviously the Reds are going to have to make the postseason. A big part of that is going to be a little who, what, when, where, and why. Nick, I think a lot of people are going to know much of this. They might not know the pitching matchups, but maybe the most important thing we got to talk about is just finding a way to get down to the ballpark. I think if this is a baseball town, if this is a baseball town, we've got to find a way to make it happen. We've got to find a way to pack Great American Ballpark. I can't say that enough. I mean, it's on a weekday. There's not a whole lot going on. There's not a big college football game in town. There's not an NFL game in town. There's nothing that should really be able to hinder us as a community to be able to find a way to support these guys. And you know what? If they let us down, they let us down. It's not the first time, and it probably won't be the last time. But the one thing that it could possibly do is to provide just a little bit of support, a little bit of motivation, a little bit of whatever that is late in games. Maybe it makes the reliever for the Pirates just a little, for whatever dumb reason, a little bit more nervous that he might walk the leadoff guy in a one-run game because there's absolutely 30+ thousand people getting louder than loud down there. I really genuinely hope we find a way to do that as a community. And like I said before, if I didn't have to be on this show, and I'm not saying that as a negative, but if I wasn't like loyally committed to making sure that we do this show each and every single night, I would be there for all 3 games personally, because I just don't think that there's that many opportunities that we've gotten in this town to go and watch games that are this important, that feel this meaningful. So it just seems like not a once in a lifetime opportunity, obviously, but it feels like a huge opportunity for us as Reds fans to find a way to really hopefully make an impact for what would be meaningful baseball. And let's hope and pray that's not the last 3 games at Great American Ballpark. But if it is, I hope we show out.
Well, I'll say this, Trace. This is going to be your last chance to go to games that mean this much for $10. Because playoffs, everyone will show up to that, and it'll be outrageous. And then next year, when the Reds win 95 games and clinch in mid-September, there won't be any of this. You'll be straight into the playoffs. So this might be your last chance before the Reds go on this dynasty run that's coming to get down to the ballpark for games that are huge for $10. Take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, it is insane how affordable the prices are, obviously, right now. Listen, I understand the logistics of trying to get down there for families. I understand that it's still pricey to go down there for some families when it's, you got to pay for parking and you got to pay for food and you got to, all these things. I understand that. Trust me, I understand that. I also am not naive to the idea that the Bengals are going to sell out their next home game, despite the result that happened this past Sunday. I'm not naive to the fact that if Taylor Swift were to come into this town, that it wouldn't sell out. And yeah, I guess I may be being some unfair comparisons here to Taylor Swift and the Pittsburgh Pirates. But I got to tell you, man, I'm being serious when I say this. All I ever hear is that this is a baseball town. That's what I always hear. And I'm not here to debunk that or argue it or any of that. But if this is a baseball town, show everybody. Show everybody. It's the last 3 games of the year at your home ballpark. You can probably get in the ballpark for less than $20. There's not many other opportunities in the United States of America in a Major League Baseball game that have a team on the brink of making the postseason where you can do that. There's just not many. We have a storied history. There's no doubt that we have a lot of fans that care. I'm not suggesting for a single second that if you don't go down there, you're not a true fan. None of that. I'm not saying that at all. But there's enough of us collectively that we should 100% fill that park up, man. 100%. And I'm not trying to say that you should or you have to. But I am saying if we want to call ourselves a baseball town, then it's kind of put up or shut up in a way. Now or never. If you can't fill it up now for $10 a pop, then I think it's safe to say that we don't get the honor to be able to call ourselves a baseball town. And that's okay. But we can't carry this badge that we're this great fan base when our team has done nothing but give us every opportunity to be excited, coming in on the largest winning streak that they've had all year, facing a formidable foe that is a city rival, if you want to call it that, in Pittsburgh. If you can't find a way, I understand. But if we as a collective can't fill up the ballpark, I don't totally understand. And yes, people are going to come at me in the comments and DMs and say, why aren't you there all 3 games? Again, I'm going to try to find a way to get down there for one. But if I didn't do this show and I didn't have this as my job, if you want to call it that, I'd be down there for all 3. No questions asked. I hope that you would too. And again, if you don't go, it doesn't mean you're a bad fan. I don't want it to come off that way. Who are we going to watch on Tuesday, Nick?
We're going to watch Johan Oviedo making his return. So the Pirates, they come in 67-89. They are just 3-13 in their last 16 games, but did win their last 2 against the A's, including an 11-0 win on Sunday. That was the first time the Pirates had scored more than 5 runs since September 2nd. And prior to Sunday, they had averaged 2.4 runs per game in their last 16 games. If you think the Reds offense is bad, the Pirates are on another planet. The Pirates pitching, though, they've been good all year. Reds are going to face 3 pretty tough starters, or at least capable starters in the series, in Johan Oviedo, who's got a 3.52 ERA on Tuesday. Paul Skeens, pretty good pitcher on Wednesday. And then Braxton Ashcraft, who's actually got a 2.62 ERA, has pitched very well for the Pirates down the stretch. And the Pirates' bullpen's been good as well. They entered Sunday 6th in Major League Baseball in ERA among relievers in September. All right, a couple of notes on Johan Oviedo. He returned on August 4th after missing nearly 2 seasons with Tommy John surgery. He's really been dominating up until his last start when he gave up 2 homers and 4 earned runs over 5 innings against the Cubs. But he's a pitcher that the Pirates are very high on. I actually read a really good article from the website Pitcher List about him. His fastball has kind of dramatically improved since coming back from Tommy John surgery, added some rise. Slider and sinker have improved depth, and he's getting more whiffs and more ground balls. Pretty good combo there. They actually compared his profile to Zach Wheeler. Now, Oviedo is just 1-1 with a 5.40 ERA in 8 career games, 5 of those against the Reds. That was, of course, though, before he came back from Tommy John. Active Reds, 9 for 24. That's a 375 average. Brian Hayes, his former teammate, is actually 3-4 with the triple. Steers 2 for 5 with the double. Elly and McLain 1 for 3. And Benson and Tyler Stevenson 1 for 2. But Brady Singer on the mound, who's pitched very, very well for the Reds down the stretch. And a pitcher, Trace, that I am pretty confident in right now.
Well, Pirates are not a pushover. I mean, they're just not. They never have been for this team. So we'll find a way to see if we can't buck that trend, no pun intended again, of them kind of, I guess, more or less having the better of us. And I'm not going to downplay them. I don't think that the Reds are going to be downplaying anything here moving forward, just because they know how big the stakes are each and every single night. And the first one feels so big. I mean, it just feels so big. You find a way to win the first one. It takes a little bit of pressure off of you going up against Skeens. And then clearly, obviously, if you find a way to win against Skeens, you did your job for that series completely. You've won the series. And then from there, it's icing on top of the cake. So Mets, Dbacks, 2 teams left, I guess, that you got to keep an eye on, Nick. Mets, they're headed to Chicago. Diamondbacks have a pretty tough schedule from now even till the very end of the year. Not to say that should kind of make it to where you don't have to worry about them at all. But the next 3 days, outside of obviously tomorrow, the next 3 games, I should say, is just a massive opportunity to try to separate yourselves and give yourself some ground here moving forward.
Yeah, I think I'm more nervous, honestly, about the Pirates series than the Brewers. Because if you get to the Brewers series and you're still alive, like, it is what it is at that point. Like, I think this is the series, like, that it feels like you have to capitalize on. Craig, I don't know. You seem to have figured out the way to put full screen graphics in there. I uploaded one called Reds, Mets, D-back schedule into singular. If you can find a way to put that into a full screen, I'll put each team's upcoming schedule and starters. I didn't get a chance to figure out how to put that in, but I did make a graphic. But the Reds, obviously, Pirates, and the look at that big league, Craig. There you go. Those are the 3 team schedules if you're watching. The Mets, of course, they have the Cubs and the Marlins. The Mets pitching, man, is just like, it's rookie. David Peterson, Sean Manaea. I mean, it's crazy. The D-backs obviously have a very difficult schedule, but they are only 1 game back of the Reds. The Reds do hold the tiebreaker. No one plays on Monday, which is kind of interesting. The only team that plays on Monday is the Giants. That if the Giants lose tomorrow, I would say that's probably the end of the line for them. The Giants are 3 full games behind the Reds. How are they? So if they lose tomorrow, they'd be 3.5. Now, they're the only team that could wins a head-to-head tiebreaker potentially against the Reds. Everyone else, the Reds win the tiebreaker. Any possible 3 or 4 team tiebreakers, the Reds win all of those, which is obviously very good, because there's a very good chance that 2 teams in tied. I mean, that's just very, very possible. But the D-backs are going to be an interesting spot, because obviously Dodgers and Padres are difficult teams, but they're also pretty well assured of the playoffs. So how hard are they going this week? I don't think you can completely just ignore the Dbacks. But if the Reds take care of business, it doesn't matter, because basically our good friend Reds fan Brandon really kind of laid it out. If the Reds go 4-2, the Mets have to go 5-1. That's a pretty tough task. The Dbacks would have to go 6-0. So, I mean, if you win the two series, I mean, and you don't make the playoffs, then you just tip your cap to the Mets or the Dbacks because they did something heroic. But yeah, I mean, like it's lined up very well for the Reds. Singer, Green, Lodolo going against the Pirates. I mean, those are I think the three best pitchers for the Reds right now against an offense that stinks. I mean, it's right in front of you.
Yeah, it is. I'm trying my best to stay even keel, right? I'm trying my best to have rational perspective on who this team is, because I would say there's a lot of reason to have optimism based off the way everything looks on paper. There's no doubt. And it is directly in front of you. The only hesitation I have is that this team has showcased who they are. And this team has the ability to go out and get swept by the Pirates. There's no doubt about it. They have the ability to lose 5 of their next 6. But the opposite is true as well. They have the ability to go out and win 5 of 6. This is a absolute feast or famine baseball team. And the only thing that's starting to give me that hope and optimism is that this is the first time that I can remember, at least all year long, where they have won these games when they have absolutely not played their best and or have been very, very bad offensively. You mentioned earlier saying that you didn't like the lineups this week and that it worked out, so I guess you can't complain about it. It worked out because, yeah, their starting pitching has just went out and shoved, and their bullpen doesn't give up any runs. You can't score 2 runs, 1 run, 0 runs, all in the span of 1 week, and win as many baseball games as they did this week. It just should never happen. Yet it did. And I am sitting here saying eventually, I got to believe that this offense is capable this week of winning 2 games for us. Just win us 2 games. And by what someone's going to say, what does that even mean? All it means is that they need to go out and score 6 runs or more in a baseball game and find a way to win. If the other team scores 7, then you go score 8. It's like that's what they need to do. 2023 version, just a couple times. We'll see if they're capable of doing it. It's all right in front of them. The matchups look absolutely fantastic. Obviously, Skeens is Skeens. I'm not here to downplay that. But even when you get into Milwaukee, I'm not openly scared about the situation there because I don't even think that they're really going to push the horses all that hard, even if they are having a decent outing. I think that they'll probably kind of make many of those games more or less bullpen type games where they're just going to make sure that they have everybody fresh to a certain extent. And they're not going to lay over and die for the Reds, no doubt about it, in the last 3 games in Milwaukee. But if you think that for a minute that the Reds going into Milwaukee for the last 3 games isn't significantly better than if they went into Milwaukee a month ago, then you got blinders on. Like, much rather play Milwaukee the last 3 games of the series, or the season, than what we could have faced a month ago when they were red hot and didn't lose what seemed like a game for a month and a half. So 3, let's play a game, Nick, on our way out the door before we do Reds MILB. 4 gets you in. 3 is going to be 50-50 chance. 2 has no chance. Anything more than 4, and I would say it's highway robbery if they obviously don't get in. Do you agree with any of that?
Yeah, I think you're pretty well spot on. Yeah, I mean, 4, you tip your cap. I mean, someone did something heroic. The Mets going 5-1 with how volatile that team's been, and they don't have a cake week either. I mean, the Cubs do have something to play for. Yeah, you would absolutely tip your cap to them. Yeah, I think 3-3. I mean, I think it's probably about 50-50 just because you hold the tiebreaker. So, I think the Mets. I mean, almost probably the expectation would be they go 3-3 this week, right? I mean, if you're trying to bet on it. So, yeah. And then the Diamondbacks, I mean, if you go 3-3, the Diamondbacks have to go 4-2 against the Padres and Dodgers. I mean, yeah, so it's 50-50 at least. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. Someone was asking tiebreakers with the Giants. I was trying to do the math on the fly. Yeah, I guess the Giants did. I mean, they just completely crapped the bed. That team was red hot. Then they just have been terrible the last week. There is a scenario where the Reds lose the tiebreaker to the Giants still. If the Reds were to go 1-5 this week, that would put the Reds at 24-28. Now, granted, the Reds have to play pretty bad this week because they're 3 games ahead of the Giants for the Giants to catch them, right?
Yeah, we're not. Giants are out. I would just say this: like the Giants have no chance.
Someone was saying it's not possible, so I gotta lay it down. All right, so the Reds went 1-5.
Yeah.
And the Giants swept the Colorado Rockies because the Giants play the Cardinals next, so that doesn't count towards their division. Both teams would be 24-28. So there is a path to the Giants still winning the tiebreaker, but they sweep the Rockies, which they would have to do to catch the Reds. And then the Reds would have to go 1-5. But if that happened, the Giants would be in over the Reds.
Yeah. And if that happened, the Mets would also have to go 0-6.
No, 1-5 too.
It's a tie.
Tied. Reds are tied.
You're right.
So both teams go 1-5, and the Diamondbacks would have to go 2-4 or worse.
Correct. Yeah. Good luck with that. That seems like
the way this season's gone. Do you think that's the? I could.
Yeah,
no,
it's not happening.
You think it's impossible to see every
I don't
team
think the
really
Mets.
crap
I don't think the Mets, the Reds are going to go 1-5, and I don't think that the Diamondbacks are going to go 2-4, and the Giants somehow magically win the rest of their games. No, I don't think so.
The Giants would have to go 4-2 and sweep the Rockies. I mean, that's not that crazy. Yeah. Or no, maybe would it be 5-1? I don't know.
I think they have to go 5-1. I don't know. Math is hard, as they're saying in the chat, and it is hard. So I'll worry. I'll tell you what. I'll worry about that scenario when we're like 2 games left, and the math's a lot easier. Right now, I'm focused on the Pirates, and I think all of you should too. Which means if you can go to the ballpark, go to the ballpark. What do you think about that?
Yes, get to the ballpark. You're, and one last point. I was pointing this out the other day on Twitter. This is crazy. We've never, no Reds fan has ever saw this. The Reds never in the entire history of this franchise were out of a playoff spot on September 10th or later and came back to make the playoffs. It's never happened. I mean, every time the Reds have gotten the playoffs, they pretty much got in, and there wasn't really a whole lot of drama the last week of the season. There was one year, like in I think 1939, where they were down to a half game lead. But I mean, we've never seen anything like this. 1999 would have been the year that obviously, but they didn't make it. And then I guess 2020 they did as well. But I mean, kind of everyone was within a game in 2020, so it doesn't really count. But yeah, I mean, this is completely uncharted territory.
Job's not finished. I know we don't play the games. None of the fans play the games. Our opinions theoretically have no output, no meaning, no nothing. Job's not finished, man. It's just not. We got to find a way to continue to play good baseball. We're not going to be able to backdoor ourselves into this thing. We're going to have to at least play 500 or better baseball, in my opinion, to get in. And you almost have to just assume that the other teams are going to play well, in my opinion. And Reds are going to have to go 4-2. 4-2 can get it done, no doubt about it. It all starts on Tuesday when you have a chance to face a Pirates team that has not been good, but they also just took care of the Athletics in a big, big way just the day, to where, truth is that we had trouble with the Athletics. So this is Major League Baseball. It is what it is, and
it's their last.
Go ahead.
It's their last 3 games that matter too. I mean, they play the Braves in Atlanta next weekend. Like, they're not going to care about that. That series is going to be just 2 meaningless teams. Like, this is it. Like, this is their season. Like, the next 3 days. So, like, if you are, don't they have an interim manager? I can't remember if they actually gave Kelly they took the interim tag off or not. But nonetheless, like he wants to knock the Reds out of the playoffs. I mean, that's it. Like, if you're a Pirates fan, this is literally the last 3 exciting days. So they're probably going to go all out in those games. They're going to use all their best relievers. They don't give a damn what happens to Atlanta. So yeah, I mean, that is something like the Reds aren't going to get completely off the hook here.
No.
Whereas honestly, like a team like the Diamondbacks could face the Dodgers, who are resting people. Pirates aren't going to be resting people the next 3 days. They're going to play everyone.
Yeah. Well, there's something also poetic about us and the Mets having some very, very similar situations. You're going to go in and play a series on the road against a pretty good team, and then you're going to have to play against a team that, for all intents and purposes, doesn't have anything to play for other than just trying to ruin your season. And that's what both of these divisional opponents are going to do. As much as we're excited about the Marlins having a chance to kind of play, I guess, play I don't know why the word's not coming to me. The spoiler, excuse me. I don't know. I'm sure the Mets fans, although they're probably beside themselves, they should look at the Pirates the same way we do the Marlins. Like, hey, yeah, it's the Pirates, but at the same time, the Pirates aren't going to go in there and lay over and die, and neither will the Marlins. So we'll see. I'll tell you this. This is what I was going to say. We have asked, we have hoped, and we have wished for what we got today. The feeling that you had in the ninth inning today for both games, I don't know if you watched both games or not. If you just watch the Reds, that's fine. But if you also watch the Mets and the Nationals, is why you love September baseball. It was absolutely riveting. You could not even think during every single moment in between pitches for the last out of both of those games. And that is, in my opinion, what makes baseball so great. There's nothing, no other sport that can replicate the tension that you get pitch after pitch after pitch. And we got that. And we're about to get that for the next at least handful of games, right? I'm not going to say for a week long because you never know. But I know this. On Tuesday night, it is appointment television and or it's appointment get your butt down to the ballpark. And that is what makes sports awesome. That's why we love sports collectively. There's no way you could have scripted what happened. You can watch as many movies. You can watch as many sitcoms. You can watch as many acting Broadway shows. You can do all of that as much as you want. But there is nothing that's going to compare or be able to hold a story like we're going to have over the next week about this team and care as much about it as we all are going to collectively do. So enjoy it. I know it's not going to feel great at times, but just soak it in. And high five a stranger at the ballpark, man. Not a whole lot much better feeling than that. So hopefully you get a chance to do that this week. If you don't, hopefully we get a chance to watch some playoff baseball games together. But we do have just a little bit more of Reds MILB here. And then hopefully we'll be talking about some Reds postseason victories here in the near future as well. Nick,
yeah, one
MILB.
One last quick thought here on this series with the Pirates. Getting an early lead has never been more important than than Tuesday and Wednesday. The Reds play at 6:40. The Mets play at 7:40 and 8:10 both days. So, like, if you're able to get out to an early lead and the Mets have to take the field, they're looking up the score. Gavin Lux, I think, or it was Gavin Lux, someone said the Reds, like, literally knew that the Mets were down big when they took the field. Like, they all know, and they can't tune it out. So, like, if you're able to take a couple run lead and the Mets have to take the field knowing, like,
yeah, good point.
It's kind of crazy. These are the two games that are going to be unlike any other where you have a chance to put pressure on the Mets by scoring early. So just kind of an interesting thought that you don't really get to see normally in baseball and something that could actually have an impact. But yes, our last day trace of Reds MILB. And thank God we don't have to go into a week of the season with no Reds MILB and a team out of it. I mean, I was like, what are we going to do for the last week? But nonetheless, we did have our last game. AAA Louisville, they fell 11-4 to Nashville. The story of this game was Levi Jordan. He played all 9 positions on Sunday. He became the third Louisville Bats player to ever do that in a game. He went 0 for 3 with a walk and gave up 2 runs as a pitcher. But nonetheless, the Louisville Bats, they finished 71-79. They did end the year on losing 4 of their last 5, but they did also go 18-7 over the last 25 games. So overall, finished the year strong. Hector Rodriguez, nice night to finish the year. He goes 2 for 4, hit his 19th home run between AA and AAA this year. Also walked and stole his 15th bag. Didn't play great at AAA. I mean, short sample, 53 games, 260 average, just a 304 on base percentage. Obviously, was really good at AA. But yeah, definitely a player, Reds number 9 prospect, kind of heading into next year to keep your eye on for sure. Blake Dunn, he goes 1 for 5 with a double. Blake Dunn, a guy that I think would be on a postseason roster. Hit 346 over his final 62 games of the season. Shout out to Blake Dunn. I haven't given up on him. I think he could potentially be a platoon player for the Reds in the future. Ryan Vilade was 1 for 5. CES didn't play in the last game. CES, pretty disappointing year at everywhere. He ends the year 245 average, did have an OPS over 800, 11 home runs in 62 games. Be interested to see what CES's offseason looks like. I'd love to see him go out and play winter ball somewhere. I think that could be good for him. Rhys Hines also did not play in the finale. Hines, in case you missed it, was named the 2025 Louisville Bats MVP. Had a great year. I mean, a great year down at AAA, 302 average, 24 home runs, and 21 stolen bases in 107 games. On the pitching side, Jose Franco gave up 3 runs in his 3 innings of work. TJ Antone threw a scoreless inning in what probably is his final game of the season. He did not allow a run in 3 of his last 4 appearances, so shout out to TJ Antone, and shout out to Buck Farmer. He got 2 batters out, gave up a hit but no runs. Buck Farmer finishes the season with a 0.94 ERA over his last 17 appearances. That's it. That's your last Reds MILB report of 2025.
Well, they've all have been as
Arizona Fall League coming soon, though.
As prepared and as eloquent as you could make them, Nick Kirby has made them. So I got to tell you, no Shing Inland updates, no Ty Lewis updates are going to hurt the soul for the next, whatever it'll be, 6-7 months. But they'll be back on the horizon here shortly before you know it. Folks, first time in really Chatterbox Reds history we've ever found ourselves in this spot, isn't it? This is it. We've been doing this show for, I don't even know anymore, 6, 7, 8 months. All for 1 week. It's right in front of us, man. It is right in front of us. 6 games for the rest of our lives. And there's a chance that you never know what can happen if you get in the postseason, as stupid as this sport is and as dumb as it seems, but you never know. All it takes is this dumb offense to get hot at the right time, and they play their best month of baseball they've ever played all year. And next thing you know, this team's playing in meaningful games that you just can't fathom. And this sport does that, doesn't it? It's the same sport that I got to remind everybody. Luke Weaver was trying to close down World Series games, ALCS games. And if I told you that was possible when he was pitching for us, you'd have said you're an idiot. So what I'm telling you is I might be an idiot. That's probably a fact. But you never know. Only can do one thing at a time, though, Nick, and that's just win the next one. Let's find a way to do that on Tuesday.
2 more supers.
Let's do it. 2 more supers out the door, and we will be seeing everybody on Tuesday night.
Maybe there's more than 2.
All right, well, we'll do them all. Tony Papagalo. I completely butchered that name, but I appreciate your love, Tony. He said, love you guys. The vision of Hunter starting a playoff game in Dodger Stadium is something I can't get out of my head. Oh, boy. Yeah. I got to tell you, too, I mean, people aren't going to think that's one of those ballparks that kind of bodes a little bit differently for the Cincinnati Reds that we've seen in the past. It does. They like those big outfields.
Last postseason series win included 2 wins at Dodger Stadium.
Absolutely no pressure, too, going to Dodger Stadium. Like, just none. How are you gonna beat the billion-dollar payroll Dodgers
in a 3-game series, not a 7-game series?
Yeah, well, that definitely bodes well for us. Trust me. If they'd let us play 5 innings, I'd do that. You know, it's like, hey, as little as we can play, the better for us. That's what I think. Yep. Yeah. Let's just go. Well, you guys just want to sudden death this thing? We'll just go 1 for 1, tick for tat.
First not a runner on second, though. We're not good at that.
Yeah. No, we ain't doing the runner on second thing. We'll probably spend our first 2 outs trying to bunt them over to third.
They don't do that in the playoffs. They don't do that in the playoffs.
They don't. We don't have to worry about that anymore. That's another
I
positive.
mean, that's
about
half
the
of our
playoffs.
losses this year.
That is half our losses. Another thing that's crazy too is I just want to say, you know what else saved the Reds' butt? It's a kid show. I know that people didn't watch the game, but last night, Saturday, the Mets 100% bunted over the guy to third base, and it kind of, in my opinion, stifled the momentum a little bit. They get a strikeout, and I was like, yes, thank you, Mets. I love you for bunting him over. That was fantastic. So, anyways, final few supers here before we go. What's next on the agenda? Sal Stewart once again says, do you think the Reds change the starting rotation with the off day tomorrow, specifically with Hunter Green, or is Tito trying to save him? We definitely got to that one, my man.
I think there's
Craig.
another one from him.
We did that one before. Michael Roth, it's coming next. Michael Roth says, meat. That was earlier in the show when he was talking about Omaha Steaks. 50% off site-wide, omahasteaks.com. Use the code Chatterbox to get $35 off in addition to the 50% off. Shout out to Michael Roth. Sal Stewart says, please rewind, not rewind, please remind, let's do that again. Please remind fans they can bring in food and sealed water and soda. One of the few places left in the country that do that, and he is not wrong. Sal Stewart is 100% right about that. I have done that actually plenty of times with my family. They let you bring in any sealed food. So, I've brought in beef jerky. I've brought in peanuts. I've brought in almost everything. Little peanut butter and jelly sandwiches from time to time I've brought into the park. Sealed cans, sealed water bottles, you name it, you can bring it in. I think that they're like almost the last team that lets you do that. So I get it. You still got to pay for the parking and blah, blah. I get it. But listen, if it means something to you, let's try to pack the park. That's all. Folks, I've run out of words to talk. We've talked for an hour and 40 minutes, I think, an hour and 50 minutes. Nick's first time back in a week, so that seems appropriate to do a show this long. Nick, you got one final parting thought before we run to the weekend being over and off to Monday, the off day.
Yeah, I got to shout out Craig and Michael Hart.
Yes.
Did an incredible job filling in. I think every time I opened my phone up, they were on some sort of stream, both of them.
Yeah.
So shout out to both those guys. Worked incredibly hard. Brought quality shows all week. So shout out to you guys. Appreciate you.
Yeah, listen, they are the saving graces of this show and for Chatterbox Sports for the most part. And the reality is that this is not an easy task. Same to Corey and everybody else that helps as well. I don't want to downplay anybody's role here. It takes a village of people to do this. And that village includes everybody that watches. Truth is that we wouldn't be able to get sponsorships. We wouldn't be able to kind of probably muster up the courage to do this thing each and every single night if nobody showed up and nobody listened and nobody cared. But you all do care. So I really much want to say thank you. I have also say, like, as a parting thought on this show, for the many that stuck around, you probably are what I would say worthy of hearing this. This has been a blessing for me, man. It's been a tough month for your boy here. I was down and out about 2.5 weeks ago. You could have told me that the Reds weren't going to play baseball for the next 2 years and I didn't have to watch them. I would have been happy. I was just that upset about other things that were going on, but coupled with the fact that we were going to have to do maybe 2.5, 3 weeks worth of shows, that meant little to next to nothing because this baseball team just can't find ways to win when it felt like they had every opportunity to do so. Listen, I'm going to be authentically myself, but I'll openly say, yeah, like it's tough not to be negative at times when the team's not playing well. And I would openly say that, yeah, I'll find better ways to maybe not be as negative. But the truth is this. We put a lot of time, effort, and energy into this damn franchise. There's just so much things that we have to do a decent show, and investing in watching almost every single pitch, or at least every single game at least of this team kind of can put you in places that you don't really want to go from time to time. So I'll openly say thankful for everybody that sticks it out with us. Whether you agree with us at all times or not, I understand. I understand that we probably have opinions that you think are absolutely blasphemy, and I'm sure that if you had a discussion with us, we would think that some things that you say are absolute blasphemy. But the truth is what I said at the very end of my video on X as the Reds found themselves in the postseason. I don't give a damn if you haven't watched a game since opening day. I really don't care. I don't care if you've watched every single one of our shows and you've watched every single pitch of the Reds season. Enjoy it, man. Enjoy it. Of course, there's going to be moments that are going to be maybe heartbreaking, but with heartbreak comes excitement. You can't have pleasure without pain, and that's all we've ever felt for the most part with this franchise. We got 6 days that we're going to get to watch unbelievably meaningful baseball games, and I am very hopeful that you take advantage of that. And if you have an opportunity to go down to the ballpark, but most importantly, we're all in it together, man. We're all in it together. Whether you love Santiago Espinal, whether you think Spencer Steer was the MVP, whether you think that Santiago Espinal should have been cut, or whether you think Spencer Steer should have never played as many games at first base, or if you think that Andrew Abbott should go to the bullpen, or you think Andrew Abbott should start game 1, I don't care where you stand. It doesn't matter. Enjoy the run. We're all Reds fans. Pack the ballpark. Go Reds. We'll see you back on this show in the 9th inning on hopefully what is going to be a winning edition of Chatterbox Reds on Tuesday night. Until then, see everybody. Go Reds.